right, let's jump into a deep dive on something truly epic, a rivalry that's captivated millions for decades. We're talking India versus Pakistan in cricket.
Oh yeah, this one's special.
And we're going beyond just the game itself using the Netflix series The Greatest Rivalry, India versus Pakistan, to really explore it all.
Beyond the scorecards. Love that.
Because it's more than runs and wickets, right? It gets into history, politics, passion, all woven into these two nations.
Exactly. It's fascinating how the rivalry mirrors the whole complex relationship between India and Pakistan. Like right from their intertwined beginnings, almost like the sport became a stage to play out that larger story.
You hit the nail on the head. It wasn't just a game, was it? Right from the start, the series digs into how the 1947 partition, all that upheaval and tension, instantly made cricket this proxy battleground for national pride.
Absolutely. Forging their identities on a world stage. Cricket was the arena to prove themselves. Think about that first test match, 1952. It wasn't just winning or losing, it was a statement.
You can feel the weight of history on the players. It really makes you think about how sporting rivalries become outlets for these deeper societal tensions.
For sure, like the Yankees and Red Sox, Lakers and Celtics, it taps into something primal, right? But in India and Pakistan's case, cricket channeled all the emotions of partition, that sense of loss, displacement, but also the desire for a new national identity.
And the series takes us through the different eras. Things heat up in the 70s and 80s, what they call the golden era. We're talking Sunil Gavaskar, Imran Khan, Kapil Dev, Javed Miandad, legendary names.
This was when both India and Pakistan rose to global prominence in the sport. Competition got fierce. Matches were unpredictable. Every encounter was pure drama.
Speaking of drama, Javed Miandad's last ball 6 in Sharjah, 1986. Legendary. Pakistan needing 4 runs, last ball. Insane tension, and bam, 6. Do you think that single moment took the rivalry to a whole other level?
Oh, absolutely. Those moments etched in fans' memories fuel the whole narrative. Instant folklore in Pakistan. And for India, fuel for the fire, that desire for revenge, their own moment to celebrate.
It's amazing how one moment becomes this powerful symbol. It's not even just the victory, it's the stories we tell ourselves, the heroes and villains. It gets passed down through generations.
Right. Keeps it alive. Even when politics prevented them from playing, the stories are part of their culture.
And speaking of political tensions, the 90s. New dimension to the rivalry, right? We have Sachin Tendulkar, Wasim Akram, Anil Kumbal, all this against the backdrop of things like the Kargil War. How did that impact the sport?
You can't separate it from the political realities. Matches were charged. Pressure on players was immense. Every win a national triumph, every loss a collective heartbreak.
But even with that tension, the 1999 Chennai test. Amazing sportsmanship. India loses, but the crowd gives Pakistan a standing ovation. What does that say about this rivalry?
It's the duality, right? Fierce competition, but genuine respect. Deep desire to defeat the other, assert national superiority. But underneath, acknowledging shared history, the love for the game, the sheer talent.
Like even in the fiercest rivalry, these glimmers of hope, things that connect us, not divide, gives you a sense that maybe, just maybe, sport can be that bridge between them, even when everything else is pulling them apart.
Powerful thought. And the series explores that, especially when we get into T20 cricket, the rise of leagues like the IPL and PSL.
Okay, let's unpack that, because T20 and those leagues are game changers. For those all familiar, T20, early 2000s, it's like cricket on fast forward. Shorter, intense, perfect for a global audience.
And IPL and PSL, think NBA or Premier League, but for cricket. Top players, global, creating this incredibly exciting, competitive environment.
And even when politics prevented full series, these leagues let players from both countries still compete. Could they actually be shaping the rivalry positively?
That's a great question. The documentary wrestles with that. Glimpse into a future where cricket thrives despite politics, players forming friendships, sharing strategies, even mentoring. Rivalry's intense, but maybe a source of collaboration too.
It's interesting, right? On one hand, normalizing relations, but could it dilute that intensity, the unique energy of these two nations clashing on the world stage?
It's complex. The documentary gets that. For many fans, nothing replaces a full India-Pakistan series. The weight of history, the emotion. Hard to replicate in a league setting.
Makes sense. Speaking of emotions, let's dive into the human side of it all. The series does a fantastic job showing the players' personal stories, the pressure, the pride, the sacrifices.
Brings it to life, doesn't it? We see them not just as athletes, but individuals, navigating what it means to represent their nations on this global stage.
Totally. Easy to get caught up in the stats, but it's about people, their dreams, struggles, the incredible passion they bring.
And not just the big stars either. The series highlights players who never quite reached the top, but their lives were still deeply touched by this rivalry.
It's woven into the fabric of life for so many, part of their identity, their culture, their belonging. Which brings us to the fans.
Ah, the fans. Now that's where things get really interesting. The passion, the devotion. Unlike anything else in sports, the series captures it perfectly. You see fans, both sides, faces painted, voices hoarse, emotions are raw. You can feel the energy, that electricity in the air during an India-Pakistan match.
Like the world just stops, and for those few hours, everything else fades away. It's collective. Hope, anxiety, exhilaration. I've always wondered, what is it about this rivalry that evokes such strong emotions?
I think it goes back to what we were discussing earlier about their history. Intertwined. The partition, the wars, the political tension, it all funnels into this. Victory against Pakistan, it's not just a win. It's validation, national pride. And same for Pakistan, right?
It's the power of sport, right? Tapping into something deeper, like the cricket field becomes this symbolic battleground, expressing that rivalry in a safe way, but man, it's charged.
Absolutely. And the documentary shows how that passion spills into politics, too. Governments using cricket for diplomatic points, goodwill, even sometimes their own agendas.
Like how matches were used for diplomacy. We talked about how sometimes series were suspended because of conflicts. Then cricket was used to thaw relations, often at neutral venues like Sharjah, the UAE.
Exactly. Cricket, this unofficial back channel, letting them engage even when diplomacy is shut down, and sometimes leading to these amazing moments of reconciliation.
That 2004 Friendship series was powerful. First full series in over a decade, this incredible moment for both countries.
The power of sport to transcend those differences, giving people hope that maybe cricket could lead to a more peaceful future.
That's what's fascinating, right? That push and pull, competition and camaraderie. Desire to win, but also a desire for peace.
For sure. And that's reflected in the players' stories, too. You see how they navigate this unique rivalry, the pressure, scrutiny, expectations.
Seeing those moments of genuine friendship, respect, even between opponents, was striking. You see Virat Kohli and Shahid Afridi laughing, or Sakshan and Wasim Akram reminiscing about their battles.
It's that reminder, underneath the jerseys, the competition, their shared love for the game, recognizing each other's talent, dedication.
They're rivals, but also ambassadors, that responsibility to represent their nation well.
Right. And that extends to the fans, too. The documentary shows fans from both sides coming together to celebrate the game, promote peace, understanding.
Incredible stories. Fan groups organizing screenings together, cultural exchanges, even raising funds for charity.
Inspiring, right? Even with that rivalry, there's goodwill underneath, this desire to connect.
Makes this documentary so powerful. Doesn't shy away from the complexity, the history, the tensions, the ugliness, but also the hope, the sportsmanship, the human connections that go beyond nation and religion.
A story that needs to be told. Lessons for everyone, whether you're a cricket fan or not.
We've talked about the past, explored the present. Where does this rivalry go from here? What does the future hold for India-Pakistan cricket?
The million-dollar question, right? The documentary wrestles with that in its final chapters.
It points to a lot of factors. T20 cricket, the leagues like IPL and PSL, changing the landscape.
Creating new opportunities, letting players compete, even with the political tensions preventing those bilateral series.
And they attract huge audiences globally. Expanding the rivalry's reach even more? What does that mean for the traditional series? Are those a thing of the past?
Tough to say. Some expert interviewed believe the future lies in balancing the new with the old.
Because nothing's quite like an India-Pakistan test match. The history, the intensity. 5-day battle. It's a spectacle.
You're right. For many, those series are the heart and soul. Purest competition between giants.
Can the two co-exist? IPL, PSL, alongside the traditional series, or will the leagues take over?
No easy answers. But it suggests the future depends on cricketing boards, governments. Can they navigate the politics, create a space where the sport can thrive?
A tall order. But one thing this documentary shows, cricket has power. Transcends boundaries, brings people together, inspires hope, even with all the adversity.
It's the power of sport, a story that captures and inspires so many around the world. It's crazy, isn't it? How much this rivalry, reflects the bigger picture between India and Pakistan, beyond the cricket itself.
It's like a mirror to their relationship. I think the series does a great job showing how the rivalry ebbs and flows right alongside the political climate and all the social tensions.
Yeah, we see how when things get hostile politically, matches get canceled, boycotts happen. But then when there's a diplomatic thaw, suddenly there's all this cricketing engagement again.
It's a good reminder that sports aren't in a bubble. Politics, economics, even just societal attitudes, it all plays a role.
Definitely, and especially with India and Pakistan, Cricket's been used so deliberately, sometimes to bridge gaps, sometimes to make a statement.
We talked about that 2004 Friendship series, right? Perfect example of using cricket as a tool, a form of diplomacy, trying to rebuild after all those years of hostility.
It really makes you think how a game can get so tied up with these huge, complicated things. The politics and social fabric of two nations.
And it's not always good, is it? There have been times when the rivalry made things worse. More tension, prejudice, even violence between fans.
The documentary doesn't shy away from that. Shows that intense rivalries, this one included, bring out both the best and worst in people.
So sport can unite, but it can also reflect those divisions, maybe even make them stronger. If we had to, sum this all up for our listener, what are the key takeaways?
I'd say first you got to understand this goes way beyond the cricket field. It's a look into the history, politics, and culture of both India and Pakistan.
You can't just watch a match and get it. You got to understand that shared history, that relationship, often turbulent, right?
Absolutely. Second takeaway, it's a two-sided coin. Intense competition, for sure, but also moments of real sportsmanship, camaraderie.
We saw that respect between players, those fan friendships, the efforts to use cricket for good.
And lastly, the future's uncertain. T20, the leagues, changing the game. Will those traditional series survive? Who knows?
Yeah, it's about finding that balance. Can these new formats exist alongside the old? And how will politics keep shaping things? A lot of questions.
Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. India-Pakistan cricket, it's going to keep captivating us. Keep us on the edge of our seats.
So, to our listener, I'll leave you with this. Dig into this rivalry, learn its history, all the twists and turns, the amazing moments, and, yeah, the controversial ones too. It's a story that says something about us humans, about the power of sport, and that pull of competition that never goes away.
Ooh, you might just get swept up in it all yourself.
Until next time, folks, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.